Hello everyone. Welcome to this course that is Azure Data Factory. Okay. So let's get started with the introduction to understand what is Azure Data Factory. Okay. In the modern big data ecosystem, right? So data exists in structured and unstructured formats across various sources, right, such as relational, non-relational, and other types of data stores. So it is important to have a tool in this ecosystem to organize these large volumes of raw data into actionable business insights, right? That's where the Azure Data Factory comes into picture. So Azure Data Factory is a managed cloud service, okay, so that is built for this complex hybrid extract, transform, load. That is extract, load, transform, extract ETL as well as the ELT and the data integration projects. Okay, so this is what the Azure Data Factory is. Okay, it is a Microsoft Azure implementation for the data integration and orchestration, which allow you to move your data from one place to another or to make transformations to it, right? So now let's understand what all we can do with these with the Azure Data Factory. Okay, so we can create, schedule, and monitor your data pipelines. As I told you, it is a fully managed ETL service in the cloud, that is extract, transform, and load. And even you can run the SQL Server integration services packages directly in the Azure. Even you can accelerate your data integration with multiple native data connectors. You can modernize your data warehouse with the big data integration. You can orchestrate your data integration workloads whenever your data leaves, right? So even it allows the multiple features, right? So where you can just move the data from on-premises and cloud sources to centralized data store in the cloud for further analysis. So even you can just build data integration and easily transform and integrate big data processing and machine learning with the visual interface. You can invoke the pipelines with on-demand and triggering based scheduling, where you can visually monitor the pipeline activity with the logging and the pipeline history and track the error resources sources also. Okay, so now let's understand how it basically works. Okay, so first it connect and collect. Okay, first we need to of course connect it, then we need to collect it, right? So where we it connecting it connects the various data sources and copy the data into this centralized location. That is what the copy data. And for the copying this data, of course we need connectors, right? So you can see like it has more than 80 plus connectors, and of course like they add keep on adding the more connectors as well, right? So there are more than 80 connectors to different services which is available. Okay, so this is what the first step is, right? So where they copy the we connect to the data sources and we copy the data into the centralized location. So next we transform and enrich, right? So where we process or transform a centralized data by using a compute services such as um, Hadoop, Spark, Data Lake, Analytics, and the machine learning, right? So you can see, so it's a newly added data. Newly added data. So into data flow now, the data factor is complete cloud ETL tool, right? So of course we have a transformation of the data, right? So finally, is publish. Next is publish, right? So after the data converted into actionable form, then we load the data into this analytic engine. Okay, so where the business intelligence tools can access, right? So or we can just store in the data warehouse or something like that. So finally we monitor, right? So after deploying the pipeline, okay, it is important to monitor the scheduled activities and pipelines for success and the failure rates. And Azure Data Factory has built-in support for pipelining monitoring. Okay, this is all about the Azure Data Factory and how it works. So you can see, so it is a hybrid data integration service that enables you quickly and efficiently create automated data pipelines, okay, without having to write any code. Okay, so these are some of the features. It has hybrid data integration service, simplified ETL at scale, which enables the modern data integration. It has a drag and drop interface. It has over 80 connectors which is available, where we can move, transform, and save data. Where it is a managed service, right? So of course we have managed and non-managed service, right? So it comes under the managed service where everything is managed by the Azure. So it create the data drivers, workflows. You can orchestrate and automate the data movement. Okay, so you can transform and store data. or we have ETL or ELT scenarios, and operationalize the process, right? So this video was regarding like to understand the what is the brief overview of what is Azure Data Factory. So I hope you understood. Now let's continue our discussion in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. So in the previous video we have understood what is Data Factory, right? So basically it is a hybrid data integration service that enables you quickly and efficiently create automated data pipelines, right? So without having to write any code, right? So this is some of the features, right? So which we have already seen, right? So it's hybrid data integration service, simplifies the ETL at scale. It enables the modern data integration, right? So even it has a drag and drop. So when we do a demo, you can able to see like the interface is very simple, and you're able to perform the complex operations. Okay, it has over 80 plus connectors, right? So we can move, transform, and save data. Okay, so it has managed service. So we can create a data drivers workflows, okay, and perform all these ETL operations, right? So when we talk about, okay, so Data Factory on Azure ecosystem, right? So of course, like when we talk about the migration, so Data Factory excels in periodic data loads and transformations instead, right? So of course, like when we talk about streaming, so Data Factory can orchestrate, but there are other dedicated services for data streaming. Okay, so this we can just consider like it's can we say Data Factory as a migration, like is we use the Data Factory to migrate the data, right? So even like we should not get confused. Okay, is it used for streaming? No, of course, like it's not completely used for streaming. Okay, but yes, we can stream it, but there are other dedicated services for streaming as well. Transformations, yes, okay, data flow for simple ones, okay, but you can use the data bricks or HD inside for more complex operations. Okay, you should not get confused. Okay, so whether Data Factory is used for the migration, no. So we understood it's a data integration a platform, right? So right, so of course it's not completely used for the migration, and it's not a streaming as well, right? And even for the completely for transformations. Okay, when we so if you have already understood like this SSIS, right? So it's almost similar, right? So now let's see the basic differences between this SSIS and the Data Factory. Okay, in the SSIS, okay, so it's more code-free transformations, right? And it has on-premises connectors, right? So when we talk about Data Factory, it's much higher scale. When we talk about scalability, okay, it has much higher scalability. And it has the cloud and the software as service connectors. Okay, so even it has even based connectors. Even in the Data Factory we can use this SSIS packages as well. Okay, so these are some of the consideration for the Data Factory. Okay, so there were two versions. Okay, Data Factory version 2 is the current, and it's most of the improved version. Okay, and some of the build options are like it has PowerShell, Python, okay, .NET, right? So it is highly integrated with the monitor automation, DevOps, okay, so key vault options, okay, and of course, like so even Data Factory is no data storage, okay, so it need to persist data by the end. And of course, when we talk about the security standards, okay, so this is so we have this HTTP and TLS, okay, so whenever it's possible. Okay, so this is all about a brief theory about Data Factory. Okay, so even you can just get into this so when I just look for Data Factory documentation, okay, so here you can just explore more about it. Okay, so about its introduction, like based on basically the theory stuff, right? So how about its concepts, okay, so how the pipelines we can create, and so why we consider the Data Factory, and all the basic details. You can just go through this entire documentation, which is beautifully designed, right? So you can see, uh, you can see, so it's a code-free ETL as a service, right? So you can see like all the options. Okay, so how we can just work, and you can see like how basically it works. Okay, so Data Factory consists of series of interconnected system that provides a complete end-to-end platform for data engineers. Okay, so if I just try to open it here, okay, so you can see the what is Data Factory. Okay, so you can see like all the informations in just in one sheet. Okay, So start with the data integration, then we talk about scenarios and what does this area of and how does it work. Okay, so you can see like all the details here. Okay, so you can see like here they have given 7 things to know about data factory. It is enterprise ready. Okay, so that is data integration at cloud scale. Okay, so an enterprise data ready. Okay, so because like whatever the data we have from so we can just connect it with help of connectors. Okay, so here they have given 90 plus. Yes, it's keep they keep on adding it. Okay, so code free transformations. Okay, so even it has the drag and drop interface. Run code on any Azure compute. Okay, so it has many SSIS packages. ADF can make data on seamless, even we can just secure the data, right? So this is what you can just explore it. Okay, so in the documentation, but anyhow like we'll be working on to the demo part as well, right? So if we get in demo part, so you'll automatically understand like the other stuff as well. Okay, so now let's get started into next section. Hello everyone, so welcome back. Okay, so in this video let's see how we can just provision Azure Data Factory instance. Okay, so there are different ways, okay, how we can just access the Azure Data Factory service, right? So if you have a recently used, you can just directly go to the Data Factory, or else if you just go to the create resource or all services. Okay, so so all services, so under the Visual storage, not databases, analytics. Yeah, so on the analytics, you can just find this Azure Databricks. Okay, so even in the integration as well. Yeah, so in the even in the integration as well. Okay, so in the integration, you will be able to find Data Factory or analytics section. Also, you'll be able to find the Data Factory. Okay, so and the best way is, of course, we know. So we can just search here like Data Factory, right? So let's go to Azure. I'll just go directly click here, Azure Data Factory. Okay, so this is the page. Okay, so we'll land in. Okay, to create a new data factory. Okay, so either you can just click on this create or this create this data factory. Okay, I'll just click here create. Okay, so this is the basic steps, right? So we need to fill it, okay, so before creating any resource in the Azure, right? So first is project details. Okay, this is my subscription. Okay, so if you have any other subscription, you can just choose here. Okay, let's create a resource group. Okay, so I'll just create RG TF. Okay, so so this the region, I'll just keep it East US. Okay, so name of instance details. I need on instance, I'll just give it. Okay, and the version, yeah, so in the version it's very important. Okay, so v1 is very old version. Okay, so where we don't have any much features. Okay, in the v2 it's recommended, you can see. So and when they're telling the v1 will be deprecated soon. Okay, so I'll just go for the v2. Okay, so now, so if you have any git configuration, you can just go and just create it, but right now I don't want to add any settings here. Okay, I'll just only click on review and create. Okay, so under the git configuration, you can just check this configure git later. Okay, so let's review and create. So validation is passed. Let's click on create. Okay, so deployment is succeeded. Okay, so here you can see the deployment details. Even you can just download this. Okay, okay, so let's go to the resource. Yeah, so here you can find the all this basic tabs, right? So which you have already, if you have used different Azure services. Okay, same tabs we have activity log. Okay, so I am control tab. Okay, so of course the tags. Okay, so under the settings we have a networking, managed identities, properties, logs. Okay, alerts. Okay, so all the basic details can be accessed under this resource, right? And here you can see, so status is now succeeded. Okay, the main stuff is like, of course, you should know the location, the status, and the resource group name. Okay, so everything is good here. Okay, so now let's go and get started with this. Okay, you can just click here like open Azure Data Factory Studio. Okay, if you want to know more about the documentation, you can just click onto this. Okay, so let's go and click onto this open Azure Data Factory Studio. Yeah. So here, so this is the page. Okay, so where we'll land in. Okay, if you are clicking the Azure Data Factory Studio. Okay, so here, so we have a different options. Okay, so whether to ingest the data, or if we want to create a data pipelines, or transform the data, or if you want to configure the SSIS, right? Here, okay, so we'll set up a code repository right now. No need. I'll just cancel this out. Okay, so here, okay, so if I just try to expand this, okay, so these are the if I just expand this blade, okay, you can see like we have different tabs here. So this is under the home. Okay, so where we right now here. Okay, so from here also we can just create all the pipelines. Okay, if we want to Power Query or data flow data set. Okay, so all these things can be created from this. Okay, so by clicking onto this new, okay, under the home page. Okay, next we have author. Okay, so under the author, this is the main development area. Okay, so where the most of the data engineers spend, right? So here you can see like we have a pipelines. Okay, so if you want to create a pipelines, okay, so this is what the pipelines. Okay, so this data set, we don't have any right now pipelines, right? If you want to create a new pipeline, we'll directly clicking onto this and create new pipeline. Or if you have already template, okay, you can just try to get that pipeline to template. If you want to create a folder, okay, you can just try to create a folder here, right? So next we have a data set. Okay, so right now we don't have any data set. Okay, if you want to create it, okay, if you, or so you can see like we can create a folders under the each sections as well. Okay, so next we have a data flow. Okay, so right now we don't have any data flow. Even you can just click on this and create a new data flow here, right? So this is the Power Query. Okay, so whatever you saw in the home tab, you will be able to explore all the things in the author. Okay, where is this is the main development area here, right? So next we have a monitor. So from the name itself, we can just identify, we can just monitor whatever the pipelines or triggers we have created, right? So we can just monitor the entire dashboard. Okay, so the runs. Okay, so triggers, then the integration runtime. Okay, data flow debug. Okay, so even we can just monitor all the alerts and matrices, okay, which we are getting from the pipelines, right? So this is the monitor tab, right? So next we have a manage. Okay, so where we can just manage the all this connections, source control, security, right? So under the connections, we can just manage this linked services, integration runtimes, and Azure purview, right? So even about the Git configurations, right? So then templates, CRM templates, all the things can be managed under this manage tab. Okay, so this is about the dashboard exploration. Okay, so let's continue our discussion in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. So in this video, let's discuss about the data factory components. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, if you once you understood the components, then it will be very easy to create pipelines and add triggers and other stuff, right? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so let's first assume first we'll understand this everything all this data factory components with help of some analogy. Okay, so assume like we have a shop and we have a house. Okay, so in the shop we have a cabinet, and in the and we want to transfer this cabinet. Okay, so basically the person in the house is purchasing this cabinet and he wants to transfer to this cabinet to his house. Okay, so of course to of course he's looking for some person, right? So to transfer this cabinet, okay, from shop to his house, and we have a person called a delivery man. Okay, so first thing the delivery man asks is about the delivery details. Okay, so which includes delivery details, okay, about the shop and the address and the home, right? So all the basic details, delivery details will be included under this. And the next he'll ask is how to assemble and disassemble information, right? So how to disassemble this cabinet, and how so once he's got this the cabinet, and how to assemble it at his home, right? And finally he'll ask the keys and address, right? So keys and address to go to the shop and collect the cabinet, and finally the keys of his house, okay, so that he can deliver this cabinet, right? So these are some of the required details, okay, so and information which is required, okay, to get this cabinet from the shop to and to keep it at his house, right? So to manage this everything, okay, we have a person called a delivery manager, right? So where he'll keep a track of this everything. Okay, so this is a very good example, right? So where we can just compare this analogy with the data factory, all these pipelines. Okay, so now if I just try to compare this with, okay, so there's the data factory pipeline. So here the delivery manager, okay, he's nothing but integration runtime. Okay, so where it manages end-to-end process, right? And so delivery manager, okay, so for example, here again we have a source and destination. Okay, so in the analogy we create this as a shop and this is home, right? So basically we have a source, okay, it could be any storage, right? So we taken a blob storage, and the destination here is a SQL warehouse, right? So and if I want to transfer this data, right, so order CSV, and after the transformation, if we want to send to the destination, of course we have so many things, okay, which comes in between, right? So first details, okay, we need activity. Okay, what is the activity performing here? Like copy is one of the activity, or it could be any task, right? So a copy is considered as one of the activity here. Okay, so where it contains like delivery details. So what we have just compared the analogy. So basically here it is a activity. It could be any activity. Okay, so next is we have a data set. Okay, so basically data set is all the information. Okay, so what type of data set it is. Okay, so basically it includes like whatever we have just compared the analogy with the disassemble and assemble information. Okay, so it's nothing but the data sets. And keys and addresses, basically it's a linked services, right? So how we can just connect with the source and how we can just connect with the destination. So all the details will be included under this linked service. Okay, so the entire thing is managed by a integration runtime, and overall control will have under this data factory pipeline, right? So similarly we have a other pipeline where it manages the controls the other stuff, right? Other integration runtime. Similarly, we can have a multiple data factory pipelines here, right? So this is an entire process. Okay, so how it's gonna work. Okay, so if you have just worked with SSIS, okay, it's similar to this. Okay, so in Azure Data Factory we call it pipeline, but in SSIS we call it as a packages, right? So package. Okay, so here we have a linked service. Okay, so linked service, right? So there we have a connection manager, right? And we have a source. Again, we have a source in the SSIS, and for the destination we call it as an SSIS, and we call it sync in the data factory. And activity, okay, for example, copy is one of the activity. If we want to copy the data from source to destination, is considered as an activity, right? But here in the SSIS we call it as a control flow task. Okay, so of course the entire the process we call as a data flow, and here also we call as a data flow. Okay, so this is the different components of the Azure Data Factory. Hello everyone, so welcome back. In the previous video we have discussed about the Azure components, right? So under that first we'll discuss the first component, that is pipeline and activities. Okay, so we'll understand what is pipeline and activities in this video. Okay, so so now let's get, so just log into my data factory, that is Inero instance, which I have just created right in the previous video. Okay, so now let's go to the author section, right? So I told you like author section is where the most of the developers spend their time, because it's used for the development, right? So this entire tab. Okay, so under this we have something called pipelines. Okay, so basically pipeline is defined as a logical group of activities, okay, to perform a piece of work. Okay, it could be any task. Okay, so data factory can comprise of this multiple pipelines. Okay, so with each pipeline having a multiple activities inside them. Okay, so and the activities inside the pipelines can be structured, okay, to run the sequential or in parallel depending on your needs. Okay, the pipeline allow users to easily manage and schedule the multiple activities together. Okay, so if I just try to expand here right now, you can see like I don't have any pipeline which is running. I can go and create a new pipeline. Okay, so so you can see this is a pipeline one. Okay, so if I want to add one more pipeline, I can just get new pipeline. This is the new pipeline 2. Okay, in the pipeline 1, again I can just create go and create for example, if I just go and create here, like if you want to rename this, or if you want to monitor this pipeline directly, I can just monitor. If I want to clone this same pipeline, I can just clone it, right? So if you want to delete it, you can just directly delete here. Okay, so even you can just download all the supported files here. If you want to move this pipeline, okay, you can just do. These are the different options which we have available under this, right? So same thing. Okay, so all the options will be available under the same pipeline. Okay, so if I just go to the here pipeline 1, okay, so under this pipeline, let's delete this pipeline 2. Okay, I'll just delete this. Okay, so I have just only one pipeline here. Okay, so under this pipeline, yeah, this is another way. Okay, yeah, Okay, so under this pipeline, you can see we, as I told you, so we have a set of logical group of activities to perform certain tasks here, right? So majorly the task is designed in such a way that one certain task would be for the movement of the data, like if you want to move the data. Another set of tasks is for the transformation. Okay, so here you can see like we have a move and transform. We have Azure Data Explorer, Azure Functions activities, batch service activities, Databricks related to then data lake analytics, general HD insights, iteration and conditionals, okay, machine learning and power query. Okay, so in the move and transfer you can see like I have an activity to copy the data, and we have a data flow. Okay, so we just copy the data here. Okay, so with respect to this, okay, so you have all the settings like the general settings, the name of this copy data activity, and I can just give the description. Okay, so we'll understand in upcoming demos. Okay, so we have all the details like source, sync. So we know sync is a destination, right? So mapping, settings. Okay, so for related to this activity, okay, for example, if I just take any other activity here like notebook, okay, and since here for respect to notebook I have other settings here. Okay, so here like let's try to close this. Yeah, so for example, so the, as I told you, this is a drag and drop interface. Okay, so I can just so for each activity again I have like a different add-on activity on this. Okay, so you can see like I can just set for success, failure, completion or skip. For example, if I want to for example, I'm just adding. Okay, so on success, okay, so try to execute this. Okay, so if I just have one more file something, okay, so I can just so on failure, okay, so on failure, okay, set this execute this particular script. Okay, so I can just basically connect like this, right? So this is how basically we can just create a pipelines. Okay, so and for each, okay, you can see like we need to give a name. Okay, so and any related information we can just add here, right? So this comes under yeah, so this is for the copy data. Okay, so here, okay, so once I've done with the uh so once I've done with this, okay, so for each activity what I have just written, okay, so even I can just check the code of it. Okay, you can see like I can access all within this is the JSON format. Okay, so here again I can check the properties of it. Okay, so this is the code. Okay, so here in the section again, for example, in the notebook I can check the code right now. Okay, so you can see this is what the code is. Okay, so and once this is done, okay, we need to validate this particular activities, all these activities, and then directly we can just publish here. Okay, so and we can just run using the add triggers. Okay, so this is what different activities under the move and transform. Okay, so under the data and the explorer again we have a other options. Okay, so we'll discuss like Databricks, we have a notebook, jar. Okay, so under the data like analytics we have a we have a usql, right? So and importantly like iteration and conditions, okay, similar like the ssis, right? So we have filter for each, okay, if condition switch until, and the task related to machine learning, right? So this is a batch execution. Okay, so this is the update resource. Okay, so this is manage machine learning execute pipeline, right? So this is what everything is pipeline. Just remember, so pipeline is basically is defined as a logical group of activities to perform a certain piece of work. And the data factory can come, as I told you, so it comprises of multiple data pipelines. Okay, where each pipeline is having the multiple activities, right? And these activities inside the pipeline can be structured to run sequentially or parallelly. Okay, so based on the our requirements, as I told you, and the pipeline allow users to manage easily and schedule the activities based on these triggers, okay, which you'll understand in upcoming videos. Now in this video I just wanted to convey the more information about the pipelines, okay, how to create a pipeline and how we can just add the activities to it, right? So and for each activity we have a different settings which we can change it, and we can just access the code. And once we run the validate, we can just publish this pipeline and we can just run it using the add triggers. Okay, so this is all about the pipelines. Okay, so I hope you understood. Now let's continue our discussion in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. So in the previous video we have discussed about the pipelines and activities, right? So in this video let's discuss about the linked service and the data sets. Okay, so let's revise like whatever we have done. Okay, so we know like about the data factory pipelines, right? So So we understood what is pipeline. So pipeline is defined as a logical group of activities to perform a piece of work, right? And when we talk about the logical group of activities, so basically when I say activities, so activities are processing steps, okay, so that perform each individual task, right? And this component supports data movement, data transformations, and other control activities. And the activities can be executed in both sequential and parallel manner, right? So this is what the data set is, okay? So, and of course one pipeline can have one or more activities which you have seen, okay? So Azure Data Factory activities, okay? So of course we can represent a processing step in parallel pipelines, and actions to perform on data could be ingest the data, that is to copy the data, or we can just transform the data, or we can just store the data, and can be linked execute. So the we can execute sequentially, or we can just run in parallel, right? So some of the activity types, right? So one is data movement activity. So we can just copy the data from the data stores located on premises and in the cloud, okay? Some of the data stores include blob storage, Cosmos DB, Amazon Redshift, right? So, and we have a transformation activities, okay? So where we can just transform and enrich the data from Spark, Databricks, Hive, right? And control activities, okay? So like for each web, this is what the control flow is, okay? So when we talk about the data flow, okay? So basically there are special types of activities that allow data engineers to develop a data transformation logic visuals, okay, without writing a code, okay? So this is what the data flows is, okay? When I just go, so here we have a data flow. Even we have under the development section, and even we have something called data flows, okay? So these are the special types of activities, okay? So as I told you, so where the data engineers used to develop a data transformation logic visually without writing any code here, okay? So they are executed inside the Azure Data Factory pipelines on the Azure Database clusters, okay, for scaled out processing using Spark, okay? So here we have a two process, okay? So you can see, so a data flow is a new feature of Azure Data Factory that allows to develop a graphical data transformation logic that can be executed as follows, okay? It can be a mapping or a wrangling, okay? So now in this video, let's try to understand what is data sets, okay? And how we can just have the linked services to this particular data set, because when we're talking about data sets, of course we need to have the linked services, okay? Always try to compare with the analogy, okay? It will be very easy to remember it, okay? So as I told you, so data sets are basically for example, for like now, like for the movement of for the movement or for the transformation of the data, you need to specify the data configuration settings, right? So a data set can compromise of the database tables or a file name, folder structure, or it could be anything. And moreover, every data set refers to the linked service. So whenever we are talking about the data survey or data sets, okay, we are talking, even we should have the linked services, okay? So so what are linked services? So as a prerequisite step, okay, before connecting a data source, okay, so we create a connection string, right? So the linked services act like a connection strings in SQL Server, okay? If you're taking an example, a data source as an SQL Server as an example, okay? So they contain information about the data sources and services, okay? The requesting then identity connects to the data source using this linked service or connection strings, okay? So this is what the link service, okay? Let's try to do a hands on it, okay? Then we'll come to this, okay? So here, if I just go here, okay, so so when I try to expand here, okay, so one second, yeah, okay, so once I just try to see under the authors tab, okay, we have something called data sets, okay? So right now I can just create a new data set from here, right? Or else, for example, if I'm just performing some activity like copy data, right? So you can see like here I need to give the source, okay? So from here also I can just create a new data set, okay? So for example, so now we are talking about data sets. Now let's go and create a new data set, okay? So as I told you, so to create a new data set, you can see like again here we have a different options available, like this is the all Azure options, okay, where I can just connect to the data set, okay? So this is the related to databases, this is the files, okay? So this is the generic protocol, no SQL and services, and the different apps, okay? So this is from where we can just create a new data set, okay? You can see in pipeline activities and data flows, reference to data set specify the location and structure of your data within the data store, okay? So before creating a new data set, as I told you, so we should create a linked services, okay? So to create a linked services, okay, before that we'll add some data into the so in this demo what we'll do is we'll go with this Azure Blob storage. Okay, so for the Blob storage, let's add some value and then we'll continue with this. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just open the new tab here. I'll just go to the storage accounts. Okay, so let's go and create a Blob storage. So I'll just choose the existing storage name. I'll give iNeuron storage. Okay. Uh, so region East US, I'll go with the standard or premium to have a low latency. Okay, so let's go and click and review and create. So it's running the final final validation. So let's go and click on create. Okay, so deployment is complete. Okay, so I'll just go to the resource. Okay, so here let's go to the container. Okay, so let's add a container and the container name I'll just give iNeuron blob. Okay, so here, okay, so let's click on create. Okay, so under this let's add let's upload a file. I have some not this. I'll go to downloads. I have one Avengers data. Okay, so I'll just try to upload this. It's a CSV file. Okay, you can just upload some data. Okay, so don't, it's not like you need to apply the same data or something like that. Okay, so you can just try with the other data sets as well. Okay. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so we have added a file under the blob story, that is Avengers. Okay, so now if I right now I'm here. Okay, so as I told you, so before creating a new data set, so I need to create a link services. Okay, to create a link services, okay, so what you can do is just go to the manage section. So under the manage section we have something called link services. Let's go and create a new link service. Okay, so as I told you, so I'm creating a link service for the storage, Azure storage blob. Okay, blob storage. Okay, so let's click on continue. Okay, so here I'll just keep same name, there's Azure blob storage 1. Okay, so you can just provide the description, and we have a connect through integration runtime. Okay, which will have a separate video to understand integration runtime. You can see, so integration runtime is the compute infrastructure used by the data factory to provide a data integration capabilities across the different network environments. Okay, so we have a different here we have like auto resolve integration runtime, which is automatically which is default created which is set by the Azure. Okay, so even you can just create it. Okay, here authentication method, we have a key. Okay, account key, we have a service principal, manage identity. So let's keep it simple, that is account key. If you have the connection string, can just choose if you have just stored in the Azure key wallet, you can just choose that. I'll just use this connection string. Okay, so from Azure subscription. Okay, so here I'll just choose the subscription, and the storage account name is iNeuron storage 123, which I've just created, right? So so let's keep it everything in default. Okay, so let's go and click on create. Okay, so you can see, so a linked service has been created, that is Azure blob storage 1. This is my linked service, right? So let's now go to the author. Okay, so now let's go to the data set. Under the data set, I'll just create a new data set. Okay, so so we have in the first step what we have done, we have created a link service, right? So in the link service, that is a, so we have seen the pipeline, right? So I'll just show you that. Okay, so we have seen this pipeline, right? So we have a data set and we have a link service. Okay, so all the connection details. Okay, so similarly we are just so we have to integrate, we have to connect with this. Okay, so we have done that with done with this link service. Now we'll go for the data set, right? So if I just go to the data set, so I'll just look for Azure blob storage. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so we are uploading a CSV file. I'm just selecting that. Okay, so here it's text. Okay, so link service, you can see, so I need to select the link service. So our link service name is Azure blob storage 1. Okay, so here I need to give the file path name. Okay, so if I just select the file path name, okay, so I'll be redirected. Okay, where I need to select the folder. Okay, this is the ineuron blob which I've just created. Under this we have this data. Okay, so I just click OK. Okay, so here everything is set. Okay, of course we have a first row as header, so let's click OK. Okay, so you can see, so our data set has been created. Okay, so you can see all the connection details here. Okay, so and you can see the file path. Okay, so even this is a compression type. Okay, so after uploading, if you want to change it, like whether it's semicolon or pipe or tab, okay, or anything, okay, you can just change it. Right now it's comma. Okay, so this is what you can just see here. Okay, so if you want to preview the data, let's click on preview data. Okay, you can see this is what my data is. Okay, so this is what my data. Okay, so now under the pipelines, okay, so you can see like I want to copy data. This is my one of the activity, right? So you can see under this we have a general. So here I can source, I can just try to add those particular file here, that is delimited text 1, right? So this is what our data, right? So under the data sets also we have one data, that is delimited text 1, right? So this is you can see this is the name which it's created by default, or else you can just change this name, right? So this is how we create a data sets, first link services, then the data sets. Okay, so this is what, okay, data set is simply a point or reference to the data, and the reference data which is used in the activity. It could be files, folder, documents, or tables. Okay, so what are link services? So link services are similar to the connection string. Okay, so which represents the connection information to connect to the external resources, like data source like Azure SQL Server, or compute resource like we have a Spark cluster, right? So this is how it's basically gets connected with the data set. Okay, so I hope you understood. Okay, so we have covered the pipelines and activities component, and link services, and the data sets. Okay, so let's try to understand about the integration runtime in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. So in this video, let's discuss about the integration runtime. Okay, so to understand the integration runtime, okay, so let's go to the uh, integration runtime. Yeah, so let's understand, so what is integration runtime. So I'll just show you, so where is this integration runtime. Okay, if we just go to the manage section, okay, so here we have link services, and below that we have something called integration runtime. Okay, so this is what the integration runtime is. And if you remember, so while creating a link services, we had this integration runtime, and we have chosen this auto resolve integration runtime, right? So this is basically a default one which is created by the Azure. Okay, so integration runtime basically is a compute infrastructure. Okay, so which is used by the Azure Data Factory and Azure Synapse also. Okay, so Azure Synapse pipelines to provide the data integration capabilities across the different network environments. Okay, so you can see it is fully managed and serverless compute infrastructure. Okay, so fully managed in the sense like you don't have to worry about the infrastructure provision, software installation, patching, or a capacity scaling. Okay, and we have to only concentrate on, like, we have to pay only for the duration of actual use. Okay, so this is that is a pay as you go model, right? And it bridges between the activity and the linked service, right? So if you remember the analogy which we created, the integration runtime is basically a manager, right? So which handles the entire pipeline there, right? So where it manages the activities, linked services. If you are just copying the data from source to destination, so all the activities will be managed by this integration runtimes, right? So so basically it defines the action, and it link services define the location, integration, right? So always remember that analogy, so it will be always easy to understand it. Okay. So as I told you, so it provides the data integration capabilities, right? So what are the different capabilities? First is data flow. Okay, so so integration runtime execute a data flow in a managed Azure compute environment, right? So all these data flows, okay, so if you just check here, so so under the author section, okay, so we have here the data flow, so everything is managed by the integration runtime. Okay, so next we have data movement, okay, so where it copies the data across the data stores in public or private networks, right? The service provider supports for built-in connectors, okay, format conversions, column mapping, and finally even we can just scale, even we have a scalable data transfer as well, right? So that's what, so this is the data movement, okay, so it's everything is handled by the integration runtime, okay, so like format conversion, column mapping, serialization. Even it provides a native compute to move data between the cloud store data stores in the secure, reliable, and high performance manner, right? Even like we have activity dispatch. So dispatch and the monitor transformation activities running on the variety of the compute services such as like Azure Databricks, Azure HD Insights, okay, ML Studio, okay, Azure SQL Database, SQL Server, right? So everything is managed by the Azure integration runtime. And even we have SSIS package execution, okay, so even you can just in the activities you can just search for SSIS package. Okay, so you can see like we have a SSIS package, okay, so it's natively execute SQL Server integration service packages in the managed Azure compute environment, okay. So when we talk about the three types, okay, so this is what the integration runtimes take care of. Okay, so integration runtimes are of three types, right? So we have a Azure integration runtime, okay, so we have a self-hosted integration runtime, and we have a SSIS integration runtime. Okay, so let's try to understand this one by one. Okay, so we have a Azure integration runtime which is created by default, right? So if I just go here under the manage section, and you can see so this is the default one, which is Azure integration runtime, which is created. So what does it manage? Okay, so Azure integration runtime can run data flows in Azure, okay, and run copy activities between the cloud data stores. Okay, so even it dispatches the following data activities in the public network, okay, like Databricks notebook, jar, Python activities, okay, so even the stored procedure activity, okay, data analytics, then SQL activities, Spark activities. So all these activities is managed by this integration runtime. Okay, so that's what, so whenever you're creating a linked service, this is the by default which is being created here. Okay, so this is what the integration runtime, you can see it works on the public networks and responsible for the data flows, data movements, and the activity dispatches. Okay, so this is what the Azure integration runtime. Okay, so next we have a self-hosted integration runtime. Okay, so if I just go to the self integration, if I want to see, okay, so you can see like we have an option to create new. So if I just create new, you can see like we have a two options here. Okay, so you can see we have integration runtime is a native compute used to execute or dispatch activity. So either we can just create Azure self-hosted or Azure SSIS. So if I just talk about Azure self-hosted, okay, so Azure self-hosted is capable of running a copy activity between a cloud data stores and a data store in a private network. Okay, so remember these are some differences we'll see in upcoming slide. Okay, so even it perform the dispatching, even it helps in the dispatching the transform activities against the compute resources in on-premises or Azure virtual network. Okay, so if I just go for the self-hosted, right, so if I just click on continue, okay, so you can see we need to give the description and the type of self-hosted and just directly create it. Okay, so this is basically a self-hosted runtime, so which works on the public and the private networks. Okay, and what all it provides, it provides data movement and activity dispatch capabilities, and it need to install on-premises machine or a virtual machine inside the private network. Okay, so and finally we have a SSIS integration runtime. Okay, so it can be provisioned in either public network or private network. On-premises data access is supported by joining this Azure SSIS to the virtual network that is connected to your on-premises network. Okay, so it supports the SS package execution and works on the public and as well as the private network. Okay, so here you can see the details here. Okay, so integration runtimes. So we have the Azure Self-Hosted and Azure SSIS. And in the public network, so we can manage this Azure integration runtime with the data flow, data movement, and the activity dispatches. And in self-hosted, we can manage the data movement and the activity dispatches. In Azure SSIS, we have SSIS package execution, both in public and private. But when we talk about Azure, it's you don't have in the private network, right? So need to remember. So that's what. So whenever you're choosing the integration runtime, so based on your network, you can just choose this. Okay, so we have a self-hosted. Okay, so where we have a data movement and activity dispatch, and here we have a data movement activity dispatch both in the public and the private network. So this explains nicely. Okay, so if this is the entire data factory, okay, so you can see like we have a cloud and on premises. Okay, so if I am so in the virtual Azure virtual network, okay, so I can choose this integration runtime. This is self-hosted, right? So where it helps in the data movement, compute data activities. Okay, so all these activities which is performed by this. Okay, so even in this you can see like based on the on premises and the cloud, and again based on the virtual network and the private network, this is both has been categorized. Okay, so if you understood this table, it's same table is explaining here. Okay, so if you have like self-hosted, okay, so even it has the on premises. Okay, so you can see like how it's we can just connect with the source and destination and the different connectors which we need to connect it. Okay, so from the cloud and on premises, that's what it helps in on cloud and premises. When we talk about self-hosted, it is in the virtual network, even in the it helps to transfer from the cloud and the on premises. So when we talk about only Azure, okay, so it's in the public network, right? So it's not in the Azure virtual network, right? So even in the SSIS, okay, it's in the public network, but it's everything in a cloud. Okay, so this is how it's basically defined. Okay, so okay, so while defining self-hosted, this is what you'll be getting. Okay, for example, if I just click on create here, okay, so it will be created. Okay, so this is so here this is what you need to will be getting a keys. Okay, so don't worry, I'll be deleting this. Okay, so this is these things you should not actually display. Okay, so this is about the integration runtime setup for the self-hosted. Okay, so this is what I've just added in the slides. Okay, fine. So default integration runtime, it's auto resolve integration runtime. Okay, so even it helps in the caching the data. Okay, so if you are based on the location wherever you have chosen, okay, so all the data will be cached. Okay, so that it we will have a low latency as well. Okay, so you can see we can create a Azure IR. So when you want to explicitly define the location of IR and virtually group the activities execution on the different IR for the management purpose. Okay, so this is all about the integration runtime. Okay, so let's try to delete this. Okay, so another option we know, so it's Azure SSIS, right? So you can just click on Azure SSIS and fill all the details, and it will be created and see all the cost here, right? So this is all about the integration runtime. And remember, so when we are creating linked services, you can see here we have just by default it's created auto resolve integration runtime, right? So even you can just select here new integration runtime. Fine. So this is all about the integration runtimes. I hope you understood. So let's continue our discussion in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. In the previous videos, we have seen about the different components of the data factory, right? Like started with the pipelines and activities. Then we have seen about the linked service and the data sets. And even we have seen about the integration runtime. And in this video, let's discuss about the triggers. Okay, so if I just go to the authors here, okay, so like whatever the pipelines we are creating, okay, so you can see like we have something called a trigger, right? So here you can see like I can just run this pipeline by clicking on this trigger now, or I can just go and click on the new trigger. Okay, so for example, if I want to create a new trigger, okay, so so here you can see I need to provide the trigger name, okay, the description and schedule. Okay, so first of all, okay, so what is trigger? Okay, so basically if I'm just talking about the triggers, okay, so they are needed to execute your pipeline, okay, so without any manual intervention at a predefined schedule. Okay, so we can set the configuration settings like start, end date, and execution frequency and time to execute and all other stuff. Okay, so this is how we create a new triggers. Okay, so we need to provide the name of the trigger, then description, okay, to identify this trigger. Okay, so then the schedule. Okay, so here of course like we have three types of schedule. Okay, so one is tumbling window, we have a storage events, and we have a custom events. Okay, so let's go with the custom events. Okay, so when you click onto this custom events, okay, so here first we need to select the account selection method. Okay, so that is from the Azure subscription. Okay, so this is my subscription, and here so event grid topic name. Okay, so right now we have not created any topics, so for that reason we're showing empty. Okay, so we'll be applying this a topic name here. Okay, so for example subscription, or enter manually. Okay, so we need to enter the scope. Okay, so I'm just giving the grid. Okay, so next here so we need to give like the events. Okay, so which when we need to, for example I want to create a new event, so I'll be giving like so all the basic details I'll be filtering. Okay, so this is very simple. Okay, so of course like when to start and when to end this. Okay, so you can just try to give this based on this custom events. Okay, so next for example if I just go to the type schedule. Okay, so under the type schedule you can see like we have a start date. Okay, so I can just click onto this, I can just select. Okay, so I want to schedule it tomorrow and at what time. Okay, so even this is the start date. Okay, so I need to choose the time zone. Okay, so whether it's international or this or any other time zone, you can just select it here. Okay, so next is reoccurrence. Okay, so so when so at like at what frequency like we need to run this particular pipeline, right? So I can just give that every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes, or even we can just specify the end date as well. Okay, so when to start and when to end. Okay, so all the details you can just enter here. Okay, and click on to this. Okay, so once you click on this, that particular trigger will be created. Okay, so this is for the schedule. Okay, first we have a schedule. Okay, so where we can just schedule the trigger to happen. Okay, so next we have a tumbling window. Okay, so tumbling window so I'll just show you the documentation here. Okay, so tumbling window is also a similar way. Okay, so you can see so in the tumbling window. Okay, so we have a advanced concept called window concept. Okay, so where this trigger will depend on the previous triggers. Okay, so for example here like see again like trigger name description, we are selecting the tumbling window, and we are giving the start date and occurrence, or everything remains same. But here the difference is if I just go to the advanced section, so here you can see like we have a delay, maximum concurrency. Okay, then a retry policy count, and retry policy, that is interval in seconds. Okay, so if I want to add dependencies, okay, I can just give the, for example I have the previous one trigger. Okay, so this is an example you can see. So I have a two triggers here, trigger A and trigger B, and for example 9 to 10 the trigger A will be run. Okay, and 10 to 11. Okay, so the trigger so simultaneous trigger B will be run, and but trigger A will run once the trigger B is completed. Okay, so this is dependency, so A depends on the B. Okay, so here the offset is 0. Okay, so offset is like it depends on the one window. Okay, so so this is basically a Windows concept. Okay, for example here if I just give to the offset of -1, so it will be, for example 9 to 10 it will depend, and so 9 to 10. Okay, so wait even trigger B will be executed, and even trigger A 9 to 10 will execute, but to execute 10 to 11 it will depend on the trigger B which has to be completed. Okay, that is -1. Okay, so this is dependency size. Okay, so here the dependency size is you can see unspecified, we are not giving any dependency size, but here the dependency size is 2. So what does it mean? So basically trigger A depends on trigger B. Okay, 9 to 10 it will run. Okay, and for 10 to 11 it will depend on the two window size. This is what the size of the window. Okay, that is 2. Okay, so here is a offset is basically the R. Okay, so it will depend on the previous one. Okay, so you can see when just keep on adding. Okay, this is self dependence. Okay, it will depend, so trigger A depends on trigger A, and offset of -1. Okay, so to execute this 10 to 11 it should have to be completed this 9 to 10 event. Okay, 9 to 10 task. Okay, and this size is unspecified, but the size is 2, so where it will depend on the two windows, previous two windows. Okay, this is self dependency. Okay, so this is what the dependencies concept here. Okay, so in the troubling window this is what will give the delay. Okay, so if you want to get into the new trigger. Okay, we can just set the delay here. Even we set the concurrency, the number of simultaneous triggers run that when they are fired. Okay, so this is a retry policy. Okay, the number of retries before a pipeline run is marked as fail. In case if there any a failure in the trigger. Okay, so this is the retry policy count. We can just enter it, and this is the retry policy which is interval in the seconds. Okay, we can just apply. Okay, after a few seconds just try to do it, or after 30 seconds just try to do it once again. Okay, so we can just try to all that. Okay, so here, okay, so of course when we're adding here, you can see like we have a trigger. Okay, so on which trigger and what is the offset we need to set, and what is the window size we need to set. Okay, this is how the offset and the window size is being defined. Okay, so I hope you are getting this point, right? So when we are discussing about the dependency offset, so trigger A depends on trigger B, and so once the trigger B is done, so then only it will execute this. Okay, so here offset is -1, that is trigger A depends on the trigger B, and the 10 to 11 event depends on the event which is being completed by 9 to 10 in the trigger B. Okay, so this is about the offset. The size about the window size. Okay, so it will look for the one here, it's unspecified, and here it is looking for the two events which has been occurred. So this particular trigger, okay, that is 10 to 11 trigger, will depend on the two window size of the trigger B. Okay, so this is all about offset and the window size. Okay, so this is comes under the trembling window. Okay, next is we have a storage events. Okay, so where we can just give the events is similar. Okay, so when we go for storage event custom events, it will try to execute on that particular time. Okay, and this is where we give the paths. Okay, so all the details can be filled here. Okay, so this is all about the triggers. Okay, so even like while executing, we can just try to create a new or trigger now. Okay, so if you're creating new event, you can just select the existing trigger. Okay, so this is all about the triggers here. Okay, so if I just go to here slides, like you can see, so it execute the pipeline, right? And it has so even like one pipeline can have a multiple triggers. Okay, so that is many to many relation between the pipelines and the triggers. And there are three types of triggers. When we have a schedule trigger which invoke the pipeline on a wall clock schedule, right? And we have a trembling window trigger which operates on a periodic interval and also retain the state, which has one-to-one relationship. Even it has the advanced configuration options like dependencies, delay, retry, and the concurrency. And even it has the properties like trigger.outputs. Okay, so that is window start time and window end time. So finally we have a event based triggers. Okay, so which is respond to certain events like arrival or deletion of file in certain services like a blob storage, or even trigger with Azure event grid service, or properties like trigger body, like if we have certain properties we can just set the triggers. Okay, this is the different types of triggers. I hope you understood, right? So now let's try to do a demo of the data, like copy the data activity in the next section. Hello everyone, so welcome back. Okay, so in this video let's try to do demo. Okay, so that is a copy activity in data factory. Okay, so this is our simple flow. Okay, so we have a Azure blob storage. Okay, so where we'll create a Azure blob storage, and we store a data CSV files inside the blob storage, and we have to transfer the data, okay, from the blob storage to Azure SQL database. Okay, so for that we'll be using Azure Data Factory data pipeline. Okay, so this is what the entire flow is. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'll do, I'll just go here. Okay, so let's uh, delete this, or else we'll do everything in let's save and discuss. Okay, if I just check pipelines, okay, I don't have any pipeline. Okay, fine. So let's go and create a new pipeline. Okay, so this is our pipeline one. Okay, so we have created one, just a pipeline here. So first step is, okay, so you can see we need to create a blob, Azure blob storage. Okay, so let's go, and I'll just go here. So let's go to a storage account. Okay, so let's create one more uh, storage account. Okay, so I'll just add it in the existing resource group, that is, or else you can just create a new resource group here. The storage name I'll give as iNeuron 280. Okay, uh, iNeuron storage 280. Okay, and the region I'll give East US, the standard, and I'll click on review and create. Okay, so let's click on create. So meanwhile it's create, what we can do is, okay, so our storage is completed. Okay, so let's go to the resource. Okay, so let's go to the container. Okay, so let's create a container, ineuron container 280. Okay, so let's make it blob, public access level. Let's click on create. Okay, so under this ineuron container 280, let's go to upload. Okay, let's click on to this. So data factory. So I need to upload these two files. Okay, I'll just upload it. Okay, so let's click on upload. Okay, so you can see upload is completed. Okay, so even you can just preview the data here. If I just click on the product CSV file. Okay, first we have a product CSV. So under the product CSV. Okay, so okay, so you can see like this is what the product CSV file is, and we have a product category. So under the product category. Okay, so this is our data under the product category. Fine. So we have done our first step, right? So we have created Azure Blob storage and we have added data to it. Okay, so let's prepare our destination as well. That is Azure SQL Database. Okay, so what I'll do, so let's go to Azure, new tab, and I'll just look for Azure Database. Okay, so SQL Database. Okay, so right now we don't have any database. Let's click on create. Okay, so Azure subscription. So under the resource group, I'll give this resource group which I've created. So database name, I'll just give ineuron db280. Okay, and the server name, I'll just create a new server name. So server name ineuron server 280. Okay, so East US, I'll just keep it. Okay, so here server admin login. I'll give Imran, and password. Okay, so let's click on OK. So this is the Imran server 280. So you can see Imran server 280 server I have just created. So here I'm using the general purpose. Okay, so let's go to the networking. Under the networking, so let's make it public endpoint, and please check this. Okay, even we can just do it once we create this resource. That is basically to allow resources and services to access the server, and even to add the current client IP address. Okay, or else you'll get error. So whenever you are accessing the query, okay, query editor. Okay, so let's so everything is set. So let's go and review and create. Okay, so let's create. So it's creating the SQL database. So I'll just go to home here. So it will take few minutes to create this. And even have just kept ready to create a table inside this database. Okay. Okay, so deployment is complete. Okay, I'll just go to the resource. Okay, so this is my server. Okay, so let's go to the query editor. Okay, so Imran, I'll just give the password. Okay, so let's click OK. Okay, so here you am inside the tables. Okay, so you can see right now I don't have any table here, right? So let's so you can see iNeuron DB280 has been created, right? So iNeuron database. So let's go and create these two tables quickly. I'll just copy this and try to run this query. So query succeeded. So let's do it one more because we have uploaded two data set, right? So let's go and let's run this query. Okay, so I have just run the query. If I just go and refresh here, so inside the tables we have created the two tables. Okay, so our destination is set. Okay, so we have done the first step, right? So Azure Blob storage, we have uploaded two files, and at the destination we have kept ready, our tables are ready, right? So now let's go and create a pipeline. Okay, so how we can just copy the data from Azure Blob storage to the Azure SQL database. Okay, so now let's go to our data factory. So here inside the new, I can just create a new pipeline, but directly I just click on as ingest, where I can just copy data at scale once or in schedule. So let's discard and continue. Okay. So run. Okay. So this is the 5 steps I need to follow. First is under the properties section. So first I need to select, you can see like then we have a source, target, settings, and review and finish. Okay. So here under the properties section, so select a copy data task type and configure the task schedule. So I need to run this only once, right? So I'm just creating a demo. So if you have any specific to schedule it, you can just schedule here, or else you can just have the multiple triggers. But yeah, so if if the triggers are depending on other triggers, you can just have the trembling window and you can just set everything, right? So we have discussed about the triggers. So I want to run this only once. Okay, and here like we have a task type, so built-in copy task. Okay, so where you will get a single pipeline to copy data from 90 plus data source easily. And we have a metadata, that is a drive copy task. Okay, metadata is required to store in the external control tables to load data at large scale. So let's go with the built-in copy task. Okay, so let's go to the next. Okay, so here of course, like we need to connect to the data source, right? So before connecting the data source, we need to create a linked service, right? So let's go and create a new connection. So new our data is in the blob storage, right? So I'll just click on to the Azure blob storage. Let's click on continue. So here I'll just give the Azure blob storage 2. Okay, so just remember, because this is the second time we're connecting, right? After the demo, for that reason I'm getting 2 here. Or else I can just give the connection name, that is ineuron a new connection. Okay, so description, so I'll just keep it this integration runtime as default. Okay, or else if you want to create it, you can just create here. Okay, so here authentication, we are key account key, and from subscription, so this is what the subscription is. And the storage is, you can see, let's refresh. So yeah, so you can see I have created this new storage, that ineuron storage 280, right? So now that I'll just show you that. So this is what, right? So ineuron, this ineuron storage 280, and now that I have just stored this, fine. Okay, so I've just created 280. So let's everything keep it default. Let's go to and click on create. Okay, so this is our connection, right? So we have just connected. Okay, so now like I need to select the data set. Okay, so first what I'll do, I'll just go to here, ineuron connections. Okay, so let's click on to this product. Okay, so let's click OK. Okay, so you can see, so it's in the product ineuron connection 280, and that we have a product.csv file. And okay, so let's click on next. Okay, so let's keep it everything is default because it's comma separated, so no need to change anything. Okay, so let's go to the next. Okay, so if I just check here, uh, it's comma separated, fine. Okay, so next. Yeah, here also you can just preview the data. Okay, so if I just click on preview data, you can see this is what the data is, right? um, so next, click on next. So target type, so here I need to, okay, so our source and target is completed, so I've just connected the new connection string, and I have connected with the source, that is blob storage. Now I'm just talking about destination, that is Azure SQL database, right? So I'll just go with the target type is Azure SQL database. And here also I need to connect the new connection, right? So I'll just go to new connection. So ineuron SQL connection 280. Okay, so description, so here I'll just select Azure. So server name I need to give, so server name is ineuron server 280, and the database name of course is ineuron db 280. And authentication, so username and password, so whatever I've just created while and the password is right. And if you have the stored password in Azure Key Vault, you can just do that. Okay, fine, everything is created. Let's click on create. Okay, so you can see, so source and target. Okay, so here it's auto created. Okay, so now let's go to the next. Okay, so here it's doing all this column mapping. Okay, so you can see, so let's go to the next. Okay, so in final we have a settings. Okay, so here I can enter the name and description. Okay, so this is the task name, there's copy pipeline SSE. Okay, so if you want to have task description, or if you want to attach the fault tolerance, like if you want to skip the incompatible rows, you can just do, if even you can just perform all this, enable logging and all those things. Okay, so right now we'll keep it simple. Let's go and click on next. Okay, so this is our summary of whatever we have just selected. Next, go and click on next. Okay, so you can see our status is in progress. Okay, so it's finished. Okay, so if I just go to here author, and if I just go to the pipeline, so uh, yeah, so ineuron, this is manage link services. So if I just go to the monitor here, okay, so this is what the pipeline name, that is copy pipeline SSE, right? So here also you should get, I'll just check here once again. So if I just go to author, and here I'm not able to see. Fine. Okay, so if I just go to the monitor section, okay, so this is what the our pipeline is. Okay, so let's try to open this pipeline. Okay, so you can see, so this is what the copy data, right? So our pipeline has been run. Okay, so if I just go to my server, okay, so let's refresh this. Okay, so inside the table we have loaded the data for the okay, so this is Azure Blob storage file. Okay, so if I just try to run this product top queries. Yeah, so actually what we made the mistake is, let's see, I've created the by default table. Okay, so while creating the settings, there was an option to choose the default table, existing table, or by default it will create for you. Okay, so I've just by mistake I've just chosen like create for like Azure create for me, but I've not chosen the existing table. For that reason I'm getting empty here where I'm run. You can see like under the Azure Blob storage file, you can see like this is the data I'm getting in the Azure SQL database, right? So if I just try to expand here, you can see like product IDs are the different columns we have, and under this product. Okay, so this is whatever I've just created, right? So by mistake you can see like I'm getting null here because while creating the pipeline I have just not selected this default table. Okay, existing table. I've just created a new table like the Azure will create for me. Okay, so here from here I'm just getting values that is from product. Okay, the Azure blob storage file. Okay, so yeah, so this is what we are getting the data, right? So this is how we can just create a pipeline. Okay, so even you can just check all the activities. If you're getting any errors, you can just go to the monitor, and even you can just check, go to the manage, again view the errors and can try to rectify that. Okay, so this is about demo. Okay, so about the copying the data. Okay. Okay, so hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video, let's see like how we can just copy the data activity using the author. Okay, so if I just go to here author, okay, so if I just check here pipeline, like I can see like I don't have any pipeline, so let's go and create a new pipeline. So first is I need to copy the data. I'll just drag this. Okay, so if after dragging, okay, so here I need to give the pipeline name. Okay, so I'll just keep it as pipeline one itself. Okay, so fine. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here so in the general, okay, so first I'll go for the name. So copy data one, description, blob, copy blob to SQL. Okay, so I'll just give some name here. Okay, so next is description, timeout. So right now will not set in this anything. Okay, so now let's go to the source. So here the same steps. Okay, so whatever we have done in the previous video is the same steps, but this is another way how we can just do it. Okay, so here in the source data set, so already I have the source data set, that is for example if I want to create a new, I'll just go to new here. So already we have connected the connection string, so I'll just show you that. So existing connection string, I'll just use this blob storage, so it's delimited. So let's go and continue. So here the linked service, I'll just use this ineuron a new connection, and here I'll go and select the data, that is assume like product category. Okay, uh fine, so let's click on OK. So all the data, you can see all the information here, like even you can just preview the data here. Okay, so this is what the product category data. So if I just scroll down here, so if I'm just previewing the data here, so here it's considered product category one. Okay, we are getting some error here, right? So what is the error here? It is so skip count, so I'll just give it line count, I'll just skip it 0, and enable partitioning, no need. Fine. Okay, so this everything is set. So if I just try to preview the data once again, okay, so it's not considering this as a row. um Delimited text one. So if I just select in the sync, okay, so sync is, sorry, this is wrong. Okay. Under the source, so if I just try to open this, we have comma, we have black slash, product category, this is comma, encoding character is slash, yeah, so this one, first row as header. Okay, so I'll just check this. Okay, yeah. mm, PRODUT product category data. Okay, so this is set, fine. Okay, so if I just, yeah, so here, so everything is set. So if I just preview once again from here, yeah, why we are not getting, we have saved this. So column name, okay, so it's fine. We'll fix this. Okay, okay, so if I just go to here, source, so here I need to select the data, so I'll just go to connection string. So selecting the data, we have a destination dataset SSE on, and we have a source dataset SSE. So let's go and create a new itself. Okay, so I'll go for uh, blob, continue with CSV file, uh, delimited text one. So linked service, I'll just give this. Yeah, so include first row as header. Okay, check here or else you'll get error there. Okay, so if I just try to choose the product category itself, click OK. Everything is set. Okay, so let's click OK. Okay, check this. Okay, first row is header or else you'll get okay, fine. So now if I just go to the sync, so I'll create a new for SQL, SQL database. Click on continue, and link service, I'll just give the same connection. Table name, yeah, so here, so I'll just select this product category. Okay, and let's click OK. Okay, so this is set. Next, go to the mapping. So import schema. So this is product category to product category. So yeah, so everything is set. So let's go for the settings. User property. Let's click on auto generate. Just click on auto generate. Explain like why we're using this. Okay, so this everything is set. Okay, so now let's go to general and let's validate. Okay, so after validation is complete, go and publish. So publish. So we'll get an message here. So deploying. Okay, publish is completed. Okay, so you can see publishing completed. So now let's go to the add trigger and trigger now. Okay, so running successfully running the pipeline one, and the activity is copy data. Okay, it's succeeded. Okay, so you can see it got succeeded and you got a message. Okay, so here if I just go to my database product category. Yeah, you can see I'm able to get the data, and this is the missing data values we don't have in this. Okay, so for that reason here we are getting this. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is what the data I'm able to get from the product category. Okay, so this is how we do it with help of author. Okay, so I'll just repeat the steps. Very simple, right? So what I've done, just go to the author, create a new pipeline, and from here we are just doing a copying data, and we're just filling all the basic details here. Okay, and this is the same steps what you have done in the previous video also, right? So this is all about a copy data activity. Hello everyone, so welcome back. In this video let's see like how we can just secure input output property. Okay, so in the general section, so I've just skipped here two important things. You can see like we have a secure output and the secure input. Okay, so if I just go to here monitor section, okay, you can see all the pipelines which I've just created, right? So if I just go to here pipeline one, okay, and in the pipeline one, okay, so if I just go here, you can just see I can see the input and I can see the output connections. If I see the input, you can see all the details here, input connections, and if I just click here output, I can see all the output connections. Okay, if you want to hide this, what I can do is, okay, so under the pipelines, okay, if I just go to here all pipelines, so under the pipelines, so under the pipelines, okay, so I'm going to back here, sorry. Yeah, so here under the manage, okay, so we have this all this link services, runtime, Azure preview. Sorry, yeah, so here this is what the pipeline is, right? So pipeline one, okay, so I'm already in pipeline one. I was searching. Okay, so if I just check this, okay, so if I just try to check this, and one more thing, so if you just check this, if I just go to here source, okay, and if you want to run any pre-existing script, okay, you can just run it here. Okay, so for example, if I want to if I just go to my this, okay, so if I just try to just truncate the values, So product category, let's try to run this. TAP query affected. So if I just select the top queries here, you can see like I'm not getting any values here. Okay, fine. So now if I just go to my this thing, okay, so I've just made the two changes. One is I have just secured the output and input and the source. Okay, so even the truncate also you can just add it here. Okay, so in the sync part, so you can just run the pre-copy script, okay, before running. So I've just done anything. So what I'll do, I'll just click on validate once again because I've made few changes. Okay, so let's click OK. Okay, so validation is done. So let's go for the publication. So I'll just click publish once again. Okay, publication is complete. Okay, so if I just go and trigger now, okay, it succeeded. So if I just go to monitor once again, yeah, so now you can just access here. Okay, so now if I just try to run it once again, I'm getting the data here. Okay, so that's not an issue. So now if I just go here and go to the manage, uh, so under the monitor, we have this data pipeline one, okay, which I have created once again. So if I just go here and look for input, you can see it is secured, it's encrypted. Okay, secure input. So here also, if I just check the output, it's a secure output. Okay, so from where we are getting, so we are getting from the this settings. Okay, under the general, we are getting this secure output and secure input. You need to enable that. Hello everyone, so welcome back. So in this video, let's understand the importance of the user properties. Okay, so while creating, so of course, like we have here user property, right? So whatever the activities you take, so this user properties will be there. Okay, so in all the activities. Okay, so you can see like either we can generate auto generate or else we can just so if you remember, like in the previous demo, I've just created auto generate, right? So or else you can just try to create a source and destination. Okay, so what is the use of this? Okay, if I just go to the monitor section here, so whatever the pipeline I've created previously, if I just try to open it, okay, so here you can see, so under the user properties, if I just try to click it, okay, so this is the only one way where I can identify the source and destination. Okay, so apart from this, you can see like I don't have any other option to identify what is my source and destination in the pipeline, right? So with help of the user property, I can easily find, okay, what is my source and what is my destination, and I can just alter it. Okay, so not alter. So yeah, so while creating the pipeline, you have an option to specify your own user property, right, by giving the name or any other information, okay, for the specific pipeline. Okay, this is what the importance of this user activity is. Okay, so how will you add it? So if I just go to some pipeline here, okay, so here in the user property, you can just directly add some source and destination, or you can just click on auto generate, or you can just click on new, giving some name. Okay, so for example, if you are giving for some for to identify the who is the administrator of this pipeline, you can just give those and information here under the user properties. Okay, so this is why we use this user properties. Hello everyone, so welcome back. In this, see like how we can just pass parameters, okay, so to the pipeline. It's similar like a function concept, right? So we have all the code inside the function, right? So and whenever we need, we call it, right? So similarly, so we can create a skeleton of a pipeline, and all this input file and output files we can just create it by passing a parameters. Okay, so what you can do is, let's see, go to the what I'll do, let's go and create a new pipeline. Okay, so if I just go here, okay, so now let's go and create a new pipeline. Okay, what I'll do, I'll just create a new pipeline. Okay, that is a pipeline 2. So I'll just copy the data. Okay, so here, So under the general, okay, you can see like we can just secure this and copy data one. Okay, so this is the name of our the activity. Okay, so let's keep it default. Let's go to the source. Under the source, so I can just select the existing source here. Okay, so or else I can go and create it. Okay, so new connection. So these all steps I think you are familiar, right? So like blob, so Azure blob storage, so it's a CSV file. So under the link service I'll just give this same I need a new connection. So here instead of a file path, I'll just select here. So this is the file. This time I'll just select only the product. Okay, and first row as header. Let's click OK. Okay, so you can just preview the data from here. Okay, so here so let's keep it everything good. Okay, let's go to sync. Let's go new connection. So SQL database, click connection. So Azure SQL table 2. So here same database, table name I'll just give as a product. Okay, so let's click OK. So mapping, so import schemas, so it will do all the mapping. So settings I'll just keep a user auto generate. Okay, so let's go and validate. So validation is complete. Okay, so now let's go publish all. So this is normal steps, right? So let's see like how we can just add the parameters. Okay, so this is done. So now let's go and trigger now. Okay, first we need to publish it. Okay, so yeah, publishing is done. So add trigger now. Click OK. Yeah, so this is succeeded. Okay, if I just go to my product. Okay, so let's first refresh this. So inside the table I have product, so let's select the top rows. Yeah, you can see I'm able to retrieve the data. This is simple step, right? So how we can just pass a parameter. So if I just go here, okay, so under the source, okay, so we have something called like so here the source data set is nothing but delimited 2, right? So if I just see here, okay, so we have a delimited 2. Okay, I'll just open this. Okay, so if I just open this, okay, so instead of directly passing here product.csv, what I can do is I can add the dynamic content. So basically all this input file and the output table, so I can just pass as a parameter. Okay, so how we call a function, right? So we'll just run this pipeline, but while running the pipeline we need to provide this files. Okay, so so we can just not only this, we can provide any files. Okay, so see, instead of, for example, I have the 1,000 files, okay, to send from here to from blob storage to SQL, so I can't create 1,000 pipelines, right? So I'll just create one pipeline. So I'll just add dynamic content so while uploading the file, right? So you can see, so if I just add here dynamic content, okay, so what I'll do first, let's create a new parameter. So here I'll just give as a name as input file. Okay, so I'll just click on save. Okay, so I'll select the input file and click OK. So here, so we are just setting a directory as the input file here. Okay, so next I'll go for the schema. Sorry, this is for what, for the text. Okay, so if I just go to pipeline, okay, so under the pipeline 2, sorry, yeah, under the pipeline 2, I'll just close this. Under the pipeline 2, okay, so you can see, so here yeah, so here there is a called input file, right? So let's give a value later. So now I'll go for the same sync. Okay, so here we have a Azure SQL Table 2. So I'll just go to Azure SQL Table 2 and click on open. So here, so let's click to edit, and instead of directly adding to the product table, I'll click add a dynamic content. Okay, so I'll just click add here. So I'll just give as output table. Okay, so let's click on save. Okay, so select the output table and okay. Okay, so now it's an output table. So if I just go to the pipeline, you can see we have a output table. So if the after this, okay, just click on to this white space, okay, where we are selecting the pipeline itself and adding a parameter to it. So let's go and add a two parameters, that is input files, okay, and one more uh, output table. Okay, so same thing, I'm just adding to it. Okay, so now if I just click on to this, okay, so now here instead of giving a value, I'll just add a dynamic content. So here I'll just give input file. Okay, and go sorry, I made the mistake here, right? So it's a so I'm just in the sync, right? So I'll just give you output. Okay, when I'm in the sync, okay, so here in the file I'll just give as a input as output. So clear the content as output. Fine. Okay, so here you can see, so instead of directly giving a file path name, so we are creating a parameters and we are passing. Okay, so this is the input file and this is the output file, so everything is good to go, right? So what I can do, so here, like, already I have created a product, right? So already we have a data, so we can just truncate that. Okay, so this everything is set. So what I can do, first I'll try to validate. Okay, so validation is done. So if I just go and try to create publish all, okay, so let's publish it. Okay, so after publishing, yeah, so publishing is complete. So if I just try to trigger now, add trigger, okay, trigger now. So here okay, it's not yet done. So publishing is done, add trigger. Yeah, so you can see, so here it's asking for the value. So what is the input file? So I need to give the same input file whatever I've just stored, that is product. Okay, so I'll just copy here and I'll just paste it as a product. Okay, same file. Okay, so here that output table, okay, so output table here we have just given as what, it's product, right? So here also output table we have a product. Okay, so if you just try to click OK and execute it, okay, so you are able to see the result from the MySQL server, because right now I have a data, so I need to truncate it. Okay, so truncate dot product. So let's try to run this. Okay, so if I just try to select the top 10 queries here. Okay, so result, I don't have any products. Okay, fine. So now everything is set, right? So I'll just give an as product. So product.csv, I guess it's product.csv. Okay, and the table name is product. Okay, let's click OK. Okay, so you can see our triggering is started. Okay, so you can see, so successfully run the pipeline too. Okay, so it succeeded. Okay, so we got so we'll wait for it, because sometime it will take some time to check it. Okay, if I just go to the monitor, so it's a pipeline 2, right? So let's refresh. Yeah, so pipeline 2, it is succeeded. Okay, so if I just go to the SQL server, let's try to run it this query once again. Yeah, you can see I'm getting Fine. So now instead of so what I can do, so directly what I can do now, so I can just go here and no need of create one more pipeline. So instead directly I can just go to the pipeline two. Okay. So if I just go to the pipelines too. Okay. So here I can just add trigger now. Here I can just directly pass the files. So I can just pass the other files as well, right? So I can just keep 1,000 files. I can just keep on adding files and keep on running and sending the data to the SQL database. Okay. So this is how we do it. Okay. So not only this. Okay. So even you can just pass the parameter for the sources as well. Like so here you can see whether for the database. Okay. So for other things also you can just set the um, uh, um, for if I just click on edit. Okay, so here you can see, so here if I just click on to this domain name, we have add dynamic content. So even you can just add the sources and the destination. Okay, so can add the dynamic content to the data factory. I hope you understood. So if you have any doubts, okay, you can just ask in the discussion forum. Hello everyone, so welcome back. In this video we'll be starting with the data flows. Okay, so we have completed discussing pipelines, a data set, linked services, integration runtimes, and the data flow. Okay, so basically Azure Data Factory data flow is a cloud native graphical data transformation tool that sits within our Azure Data Factory platform as a service product. Okay, so data flow can be considered as a firm Azure equivalent for our on-premises SSIS package data flow engine, right? So if you have worked with the SSIS, right, it's similar to that. Like yeah, so we have more features in the SSIS, but yeah, so almost the interface, okay, it looks similar. Okay. So now let's understand this. Okay, so if we have the comparison between the SSIS and the Azure data flow. Okay, you can see so if we have a data in the SQL warehouse, right, data warehouse. Okay, so if we have a three different data sets, okay, so we can create a fact table. Okay, so this is how the execution will be under the SSIS. Okay, so if the same thing, okay, if you want to load so example of this data flow, okay, pipeline for loading our data mart tables. Okay, this is how it looks. Okay, and so if I just get into this individual, okay, so like resume, like here SQL data warehouse. Okay, you can see like how the steps will be. Okay, so of course we need to get the data. Okay, so we'll have a look up product and finally we'll create a fact sales, right? So similarly this type of data flow we can just create it with help of data flow in the data factory. Okay, so when we talk about the data flow, okay, there are main two categories. Okay, so one is mapping a data flow where we transform the data. Okay, so here it's morely deals with the data flow. Okay, like source and destination and about its connectors. Okay, so our next section is wrangling the data flow. Okay, so where it directly focuses on the preparation and the exploration of the data using this Power Query. Okay, so this is how the mapping looks. Okay, so if you use the data flows, I'll just show that in the demo section. Okay, so this is how the wrangling dashboard looks. Okay, so behind the scenes, okay, so whatever we do in the whatever we do in the data factory. Okay, so everything will be converted into a JSON format and that will be converted into Scala language, and finally those scripts will be run under the Azure Databricks. Okay, so you can see the behind the scene data flow will execute on Azure Databricks using Spark. So Azure Data Flow internally handles all the code translation, Spark optimization, and execution of the transformation, right? So this is how, because what we do in the data flow is the drag and drop. So in the behind the scene, this is how it's gonna work. Okay, so if I just go here and let's try to close this, and if I just directly go to the data factory. Okay, so this was the data factory which we created, right? So here, if you can just directly go to the data flow. Okay, So you can see this is what the data flow is, right? So here we have a different, like if you want to add source, okay, so all this I can just configure it, right? So if you want to add like any other like this is the certain operations which you can just perform, okay, on the data, whether it join, exist, union, lookup, right? So all the data you can see, like there are many functionalities in this also, okay. Even in the pipeline section also, right? So we have, like if I'm just going to the some pipeline 2, okay, under this also we have this data flow, right? So I can just drag this, okay. So here also have different properties which is associated with this data flow, right? So where I'll be creating the new data flow, okay. So where I'll be landing here, okay. So basically I'll be creating this, okay. So we'll perform the two types of operation. One is transform and um, mapping the data flow, and one is wrangling the data flow, okay. So let's see the demo in the next video. Hello everyone, so welcome back. Okay, so in this we'll see a demo for mapping a data flow. Okay, then we'll see one more demo for wrangling the data flow. Okay, so right now we'll be wrangling using the Power Query. Okay, so let's get started. So I'll just sign into my Azure portal. So in the previous video, we have completed all the components, and we have seen how to move the data, right? So if I just get into my Azure Data Factory, okay, so this is what the instance which we created, right? So if I just open my Azure Data Factory Studio, sometimes it will take time to open, okay. So you can just refresh, or else you can just sign in again, sign out, or you can just sign out and sign in once again, okay. If you are, sometimes it will not open this, okay. Okay, so here so if I just try to expand this author, okay, so we know where the data flow is, right? So if I just try to expand here, so I can create a new data flow over here, and we have a separate option, okay, so under the resources, right? If I try to open any pipeline, okay, so under this pipeline, okay, so I can create a data flow from here also under the move and transform. So we have a data flow, okay. So what we'll do first, we'll create a separate data flow, okay. So I'll just create a new data flow here, okay. So before that, let's create a pipeline, okay. Inside the pipeline, we'll create a data flow, okay. So what I'll do, pipeline, so new pipeline, that is pipeline 4, and I'll create a new data flow, okay. So let's name this as uh, okay, let's keep it by pipeline 4. So what we'll do, let's create a new data flow, that is data flow 2, okay. Then we'll directly add this inside the data under this pipeline, okay, the pipeline 4. Okay, so here you can see, so we have a different option, so we can just change this a name for this data flow, okay. So under the general, okay, and you can just provide a description over here, okay. So if you try to expand over here, okay, so we have do option, that is add source, okay. So basically if I want to add the source, okay, the source, if I just click on to the source, so I'm adding the first source here, okay. So what I'll be doing is like we have a two data set, right? So product and product category, okay. So what we'll do first, we'll try to join, okay. Yeah, so first what we'll do, so first we will basically join the product and the product category, okay. We'll take the two sources, one for the product and one for the product category, then we join it, okay. So after joining, we'll perform transform uh, then we'll perform the transformation, okay. So that is like we'll come join this both the tables, okay, using the join operation, and then we'll save the result inside the in the same bucket, okay. So we'll create a one more not bucket, so sorry, it's Azure, right? So we'll create one more storage, okay. So storage a container there, and we'll store the result in the container, okay. So after joining these two tables, okay. So before that, yeah, so yeah, so first we'll complete these steps, okay. Then we'll create one more storage account where we can just store the result, okay. So here, and before getting started, what I can see do is, okay, we have an option called validate. Okay, so this is very important because if I just click on data preview, so please turn on the debug mode, wait until the cluster is ready to preview the data. Okay, so we need a cluster to preview this data as we are creating this data flow. Okay, to have that, okay, we need to enable this. It will take some time. Okay, meanwhile we create this data flow. Okay, we can just enable this. Okay, so it's asking for the turn on the data debug. Okay, so it has the here we need to select the integration runtime, so let's keep it auto resolve. Okay, default one, and you can see all the details. If you want to change, you can just try to change this. Okay, so let's click OK. So meanwhile it will run this debug. Okay, so yeah, so first we'll connect the source. Okay, so let's keep it this as a product. uh, so product table. Okay, and this is the data set, and I need to select the data set. Okay, so I can directly select the data set here. Okay, so what I'll do, if you have a new data set, so we know how to do it, right? So by adding the new connection string, right? So already we have connected string, so it's in the blob storage. Let's go to continue. It is CSV file, right? So here I'll just give product data. Okay, so here link service, so this is what link service has created in the previous videos, right? So if I just choose it, the data here, this was the connection, this was the data. I'll just click OK. Okay, so and first as header, click OK. Okay, so this is what my data set is. Okay, so this is what I've just provided. So first is output stream name is product table. You can see it has been changed. Okay, so as soon as we added the data, you can see it has the 13 columns. Okay, so right now I can't click on preview data because still it's running. Okay, so meanwhile let's wait, let's create all this. Okay, so we have options here, that is allow schema drift, that is select the allow schema drift if the source column will change often. Okay, so these settings will allow all the incoming fields from your source to flow through the transformation to sync. Okay, so if you want to allow where your data source is changing the column frequently, can just allow schema drift, or else like in info drift column types, which allow auto detection of drift column types, and we have a validate schema. Okay, so this setting option will cause data flow to fail if any column and type defined in the projection does not match the discovered schema of the source data. Fine, so let's keep it default. We'll keep allow schema drift. If we want to skip any line count, you can just add this. Okay, so sampling, let's make it disable. Okay, so this is source settings. Okay, so we have let's keep it everything default. Okay, so source options, if I just go for projections, okay, you can see this is what the projection is, or whatever the columns we have inside this. Okay, so right now I'm not able to see the data preview. Fine. Okay, so let's add the one more let's say as soon as I click on add source, I'll be getting a one more same kind of settings, right? So if I click add source, okay, so this is a new source I'm getting. So here let's add a product category table. Okay, so product category table. So here this is the data set. Okay, so I'll just click new Azure Blob storage, continue CSV file, and here I'll just give the same name, product category table 280. Okay, so link service is the ineuron, and let's give a path. So path here it is ineuron connection 280 and the product category. First as header and click OK. Okay, so here also same thing. Okay, so I'll not change the settings. Okay, so right now data preview is working for this particular section. Okay, so I can see the data preview for each and every section. Okay, so right now it's still it's working. Okay, so for that reason I've just checked it earlier. Fine, so data table is done, so this is done. So next so we need so if I just click here plus, okay, so we have different options here, right? So we have a multiple input outputs, that is schema modifier, we have a formats, we have a row modifier, we have flowlets, and destination. Okay, so under the multiple input outputs we have a join operation, exit, union, lookup. Okay, so let's click for the join operation. So as soon as I click on join operation, so for that I'll be getting different settings here. So for the output stream, so I'll just give join Okay, so here left stream is of course product table, and the right stream is, as soon as I click on this, you can see the join has been made, right? So as soon as I click, you can see join has been made. And if I want to do full outer join or inner join, left join, right join, or custom join, so I'll just do an inner join here. Okay, so the condition is based on the product ID. Okay, product category ID, and here also product category ID. Okay, so based on the product category ID, so I'm just doing an inner join. Okay, so so this is what we have just done, three steps, right? So we have added two tables, and we are joining these two tables based on this product category, and this is the inner join. Okay, so if I just click here plus again, so I can just sync it. So I told you I will be storing into the database. Okay, so for that, let's go and create a new database. Okay, so if I just go to my instance, and let's go here, and let's go to the storage account. So we'll keep it everything in the same storage account, that is iNeuron storage 280. So inside this we have a container. Okay, so let's create a container. I'll just give a container name as output result, result. Okay, uh, let's blob and let's create it. Okay, you can see output result has been created. So I'll just go back here. So in this thing, I need to provide these settings. Okay, so this is the sync one. Let's keep it same. So incoming stream is of course from the join one, right? And the sync type is dataset, and the dataset, of course, I need to store in the blob storage. I'll go to the blob storage. It is a CSV file. Save in the CSV file. I'll keep as output result 280. Okay, so here the link service is Azure new connection, and if I just select path, I'll be able to see the output result, right? So you can see the output result table. I'll just select that and include the first row as a header and click OK. Okay, so as soon as I click OK, so you can see the output result and everything is set here. Okay, so you can see, so our data flow debug is ready. So if I just go to the product table, so I can just data preview here. Okay, so let's click refresh. So let's make it little space over here. Yeah, so you can just preview the data preview for each and every sections here. Okay, so whatever the data flow we have built. Okay, so what we'll do is, first we'll try to keep this under the data pipeline, then we'll run it, then we'll see all these things, because it will take time for the event to sync also. Okay, so what we'll do, okay, so our data flow 2 is created, so I'll just go to the data flow. Okay, so if I'm just here, let's validate this. Okay, so before previewing this, okay, so let's validate first. Okay, so I'll just go, I'm under the data flow 2, so let's validate. Okay, so validation is done. So I can just do a publish all. Okay, validate. Okay, so we can validate here itself. Okay, so if I just try to expand this, so we have here data flow, right? So 4 data, sorry, pipeline 4. So I'll just drag this data flow 2 here. Okay, whatever I've just created, right? So from here, I'll just validate first, validate all, then publish. This is what my all the data flow. And with respect to pipeline also, you can just change these settings, like user properties. This all we have discussed, right? Like user properties, and if you want to secure output input, and you can see the parameters and stuff and all those things. So publishing is done, so it's everything is correct. So let's what I can do is so let's add trigger. So trigger now, click OK. So this will take some time. Okay, and so you can see running. So pipeline is running. So meanwhile, we'll go for data flow and let's preview. Okay, so let's minimize this. Yeah, so you can see, so I'm under the product table. So you can see under the data preview, you can see all the details here. Okay, and all the columns, and from here also you can just try to see like number of rows. Okay, and then update, we have not made anything, and this 0 delete and update. Okay, so if I just select some column, I'll be enabled with certain certain options. Like if I just set color, you can see like I have some statistics option, so I can just view here. So while uploading, right? So while, for example, I'm creating a data flow, so while uploading, even I can do the data preview. I can just make some changes over here, right? So you can see, so as I see the statistics, I can see like, yeah, we have a count of 89, that is a black color of this product, and we have 50% and we have 50 null data, right? So you can see like this is all the options, right? And even you can just look for the other options as well. Okay, so last list price. Okay, if I just click on list price, okay, so even I can see the statistics. Okay, these are the few options which is present here. Okay, so yeah, so you can see all the statistics here. Okay, so you can see like automatic detect like in which type of charge you can view it, right? Either you can just remove it. Okay, so as soon as you click on remove, so this will be updated here. Okay, how many inserts and updates we have made. Okay, so all the details you can access. Okay, this is for the product table. So as soon as I click on to the product category table. Okay, so right now let's make it refresh, and you can see it fetching the data. Okay, meanwhile let's go to the output result, and here also we'll see like once the result is completed, you can see still the pipeline is running. Okay, let's wait. Okay, so as soon as click on a product category table, you can see all the tables here, right? So same thing. So as soon as I click on join, you can see like perform inner join. So in the data preview, I can see the join, okay, on which like I have made. Okay, you can see still is fetching the data. So for this, under the data preview, again, we have a join settings we have seen. So we have an optimize option. Okay, so where we can do a partition option. So for example, if you want to set the partition, you can see like I have a different partition option like round robin, we have a hash, we have a dynamic range, we have fixed range, key, and the number of partitions I need. Or if I want a single partition or use current partition, I can do it, right? So this is all inspect. Okay, so and this is the entire data preview. Okay, so whatever the join we have made, so based on this is what the data we have. Okay, based on the product category. Okay, so you can see, so if I try to inspect here, you can see like we have a product category ID two times. Okay, so we can just try to delete this. Okay, so we can just perform in the upcoming videos. Fine. So this is what the data preview is. Okay, so if I just go to the pipelines, okay, still it is can see still it's running. So once it's run, so I'm able to see the result under this, the whatever the join we have made, that particular table I can see in this output result container, right? So because in the sync we have given this, right? So let's wait. So and meanwhile, so here like when we click onto the source option, again we have a source settings we have seen. We have a source options like wildcard paths. Okay, so we have a partition root path. Okay, so for the file data that is partitions, you can enter the partition root path in order to read partition folders as columns. Okay, so all the details you can just see here. Then for the projections, okay, so we have seen this is for the optimization, as I told you, I just showed you, like for the partition options, single current partition or single partition or set partitions. This is inspect, and this is what the data preview. Okay, so same way for the other. Okay, so we have all these options, so you can just check for all the options, but you need to enable for the data preview, you need to enable this data flow debug. Fine, so even you have a data debug options also, settings also, you can just perform that. Let's see, still it's running. So let's wait. Yeah, so you can see, so it got succeeded. So I'll just go here, let's try to refresh. Yeah, you can see as soon as the refresh, you can see the all the results here. Okay, all the files. Okay, so this is what the file is, that is part 00 we have some file. Okay, so if we try to view and edit, okay, so you can access all the details from here. Okay, so all the data, and you can just download it, and you can just perform all the preview and all those things. Fine. So this is how we create a data flow. Okay, so I hope you understood. Okay, so if you have any doubts regarding any step, you can just ask me in the discussion forum. Okay, so let's continue our discussion in the next video. Okay, fine. So now we'll see like how we can just wrangling of data flows. Okay, so this is how it looks. Okay, let's go to my um data factory. Okay, so if I just go to my author section, right? So let's close all this. Okay, so yeah, so if I just go to my author section, okay, so here I have a pipelines, data sets, right? So whatever the data set I've created, you can see all the data sets here, and this is what the data flows is, and we have one more option called Power Query, right? So this is what we are going to discuss now. So if I just try to open a new Power Query, okay, so this is what the option I'll be getting. So first I need to select the source data set. Okay, so I'll just so if you want to add the multiple source data sets, you can just add it. Okay, and here under the property section, you can just provide the Power Query, the whatever the transformation we are gonna do. Okay, you can just give a name and description for it. Okay, so let's go and add the existing data set. Okay, so whatever I just created. Okay, so I'll just select this. So let's give a product category itself. Okay, so you can see, so as soon as you give product category, so it's loading. Okay, so let's make it everything small so that yeah, so this is too small. Okay, so we'll take other not product category. Okay, let's add just product. And you can see like there are multiple tabs here, right? So you need to manage this. um, okay, I've just taken a product data. Okay, so here as soon as I click on to this option, you can see all the options over here. Okay, so this is where we'll be performing all the transformations. Okay, so this is what the our product data, right? So coming to this, okay, first let's explore this, what are the options we have. Under the home tab, we'll be able to see all the product like whatever the data is uploading, and under the this you can see the table. Okay, so whatever the table you added. Okay, so under the data factory resource, fine. So here we have enter data. Okay, so under the options again we have a project options. Okay, so where we manage your current project, and the global options where you are managing across the different multiple projects. Okay, so next we have a manage parameters. Okay, so if you have any parameters, you can just manage all these parameters over here. And of course these are the simple the interface similar like Excel, right? So we have like different columns like choose columns or remove if you want to remove columns, or if you want to remove certain rows, if you want to split the column. Okay, so it will be under the home tab. Okay, so if I just click on to the transform, these are some of the transform operations which can perform, like group by. Okay, so rename, pivot column, okay, fill, so all the transformations. Okay, so we want to add the column. Okay, so we have these options. This is for the view, and this is for the help. So if I just go to the home, okay, for example, if I'm just selecting certain, like for example colors, so I can just remove this column, right? So even I can just perform, you can see as I click on right click, you can see like all the options which is available over here, right? So even like so I just click on um color. Okay, so here also we'll get few options. Okay, like how many rows we have. Okay, so another options like you can just check about the rows and columns, and about the parameters. Okay, so this is so you can just perform. So this is, I just wanted to show you like how we can just wrangle the data. Okay, so here you can just perform all the wrangling, and finally you can just click and sorry, finally you can just publish it. Okay, so you can, and this is how we can just do it. Okay, so even you can just store this. Okay, so in the storage account also. Okay, so this is all about the transformation. Okay, so here if I just try to expand, okay, so under the parameters, okay, so this is what all the parameters you have given. You can just try to view this. Okay, so if I just uh, cell and remove column. Okay, so as soon as I click on to this cell remove column, you can see all the applied steps here. Okay, so for example, anything. Okay, so all the whatever the transformations you are performing here. Okay, you'll be able to see everything here under the query settings, and you can see now I've just removed certain column. I'm able to see, okay, whatever the column I've removed. For example, if you're not happy with this, whatever you have done, you can just try to cancel it. Okay, as soon as you click cancel, you can see it will just rechange it. For example, here like you have a size. Okay, so if I want to rename this, okay, so I can just rename this, and that also will be option will be available over here. Okay, so if I just click it as SI. Okay, so if I just click SI, okay, you can see as soon as it got detected that I'm just rename this column as SI. Okay, so if I want to undo that, you can just click on cancel, so it will restore it, right, the resize. So all the transformations you are doing, okay, it will be recorded here. Okay, so it's very good interface where you can just track everything. Okay, and if you are not happy with it, you can just remove it, right? So this is how we wrangle the this is what the wrangling of data flow. Okay, so in the data factory. So I hope you understood. Okay, so let's continue our discussion in the next video. Okay, fine. So in this video, let's discuss about the monitoring. Okay, so if so we in the in the author section we have uh, seen all the options like pipelines, we have seen datasets, we have seen data flows and Power Query, right? So now we can understand what is a monitor, even though we have seen in the previous videos, right? So monitor will keep track of all the details like what are the pipelines running. Okay, so so first I'll go for dashboard. Okay, so under the dashboard, okay, you can see all the pipelines. Okay, so we have run the exactly 9 pipelines. You can see 100% got executed, and even you can check all the in terms of chart. Okay, different charts. Okay, this is for the line. Okay, so this is for a line chart, and this is a pie chart. Okay, so this is what you can see, and even you can just check the time zone. For example, if I want to see last 7 days, okay, I click OK. So based on the last 7 days, I can see all the graphs over here. Okay, so this is line graph and this is a chart graph. Okay, so here under the activities, okay, can see like we have run the 9 activities and everything got executed 100%, and similarly you can just check the chart here. And this is so for example, if I just go to the some okay, I'll just go to the chart. If I click onto the pipelines, okay, you can see as I click on pipelines, you read the pipeline runs. Okay, so this is all the overview of the entire activities or pipelines you can just see in the dashboard. Okay, and under the pipelines you can see this all the pipelines which you have just run. Okay, and under this like you have all the basic options like so we have a pipeline name. Okay, so what is this run start and run end, and its duration of like how long it took, and it is how it triggered. Okay, so it is manual triggered or you have provided some custom triggered. Okay, so then status, whether succeed or failure, you can see all got succeeded, and if you have any errors you can just see here. Okay, so then run option, then any parameters. For example, in some pipelines we have run the parameters, but try to expand, you can see this is the parameters which you have just passed to run those pipelines. Okay, so and this is a run id which is a unique, right? So all the options you can just check here. Okay, so if I click on a certain pipeline, okay, so here you can just see again like activity name. Okay, so this is what the activity name and activity types under the activity name. Okay, so we can see the input output, right, unless we have not checked those security check, right, while we are creating the pipelines, right? So this is what the input data, this is output data, right? And here if I just try to expand, okay, so click on this particular option. Okay, so it was basically entire flow. You can just check whatever the data flow I've just created. Okay, and what is the sync and all the details here, right? So let's go to the pipelines. Okay. Yeah, so this is what you can see, and about the user properties we have discussed, and you can see the integration runtime, what you have chosen, about the error status, duration, and all the things you can just check under the pipelines. Okay, so if you're clicking to the each option here. Okay, so so next, so based on the filters again, like you can just very check based on like last 7 days, or if you want to see last 24 hours or last 30 days. Okay, you can just see all the options over here, and the pipeline names. Okay, you can just select based on the pipeline names, and based on succeeded or the pipelines based on the certain options, like whether it's still in progress or queued or failed or cancel. You can just select those based on status. Okay, and we have like other filters as well. Okay, can just add those things. Fine. So here we have this is list option. Again, you can we have a one more option called and. Okay, so here you can see the different options, Gantt chart. Okay, so here you can see like when we run the other pipelines and all those things. Fine. So this is all about the pipelines, and this is the triggers. Okay, so whatever the triggers we have right now, we have not, because we have just run one time triggers, right? So if you have created any triggers, okay, you can see all the triggers over here with the same options here. Okay, like trigger name, trigger type, then status, pipelines. Okay, all the messages you can see. And this is integration runtime. Right now we are just using the default integration runtime, that is auto resolve. We know how to create it, right? So under the manage section. Okay, next is data flow debug. Okay, so whatever the debugs we have done. Okay, so while creating the data debugs, okay, we can just access all those things over here. Okay, so this is all about the monitoring. Okay, so let's see about the metrics and manage section in the next video. Okay, fine. So now we'll see about the alerts and metrics. Okay. So if you have created any new alerts, okay, so you can see all the alerts here. Okay. And if I just click on new alerts, okay, so I can just give the alert name, description, and a severity. Okay. And I can target the criteria. Okay. If you want to add the criteria, okay, based on like certain matrices like cancelled activity run matrices, or cancelled pipeline run matrices, or see, you can see all the matrices here. Okay, so if I'm just selecting certain, like for example failed activity run matrices, continue. Okay, so so here I can show the history. Okay, so and add the criteria. Okay, so this is what the I can just create alert logic. I can just set the alert logic for all the triggers what I may have made. Okay, and if I click on the matrices, okay, it will redirect to the new page. Okay, so where I can just keep track of monitor all the applications and pipelines, right? So here again we have a different options like monitor and visualize metrics. Okay, and we have a query and analyze logs and set up alerts and actions. Okay, so under the monitor and the visualize metrics, okay, so these metrics are numeric values which is available for the Azure resources, helping to understand health, operations, performance. Okay, we can just explore this and we can just visualize all the um, um, parameters here. Okay, so to analyze the logs and the queries, we can go for query and analyze logs. Okay, and to set up the alerts and elections, we have seen, right? So this is how we can just will be redirected to the monitor section, right? So this is what the alerts and the matrices. Fine. So next we have a manage. So even we have seen about the manage section, right? So to manage the link services, we can create a new link services here. We can create a new integration runtimes, right? So if you have any git configurations, okay, you can just create a git configuration here, right? So while creating the data factory, we had an option for the git, right? So we have unchecked that, right? So if you add to if you want to configure the git configuration, you can just configure here. Okay, so this is about the authors, that is triggers and the global parameters. Okay, so and all the credentials are managed under this manage section itself. Okay, and the customer manage key and all those things. Okay, so this is completes the data factory. Okay, so if anything is left out, or if you feel like if any certain topic need to be explained, okay, so let me know in the discussion forum. I hope you enjoyed and understood what is data factory and about its different components and few demos what we have done. So good luck.